All right, everyone. Ask yourself, why would the CIA make a private citizen's book about cataclysms classified and later release a redacted version under the Freedom of Information Act? This is on Mars, and Mars is the god of war for a reason. This is from one of the many Gigapan images on NASA's website, thanks to our rovers' spirit and opportunity. Now, why isn't this breaking news? Is it because many would lose their religion? And why would the elites want that? Religion is a great controller of behavior. 2,700 years ago, the Greek Hesiod tells us how Prometheus warned Epimetheus of a precipitous, unmanageable trap, that he should never accept a gift from Zeus, or else a terrible affliction will befall mortals. And of course, Epimetheus falls into the trap. The question is, what is this terrible affliction that fell upon mortals? Fortunately, Hesiod gives us the answer in his book titled Works and Days. He says, formerly, the tribes of men on earth lived remote from ills, without harsh toil, and the grievous sicknesses that are deadly to men. Hesiod says there is no way to avoid the purpose of Zeus, and he goes on with more specifics. He says they were in the time of Saturn, when he was king in heaven, and they lived like gods, with a carefree heart, remote from toil and misery, and wretched old age did not affect them either. But with hands and feet ever unchanged, they enjoyed themselves in feasting beyond all ills, and they died as if overcome by sleep. All good things were theirs, and the grain-giving soil bore its fruits of its own accord in unstinted plenty, while they at their leisure harvested their fields in contentment amid abundance. He goes on to say, the earth covered up that race. So how could this be true? What changed? Well, there was war in heaven, and we ended up with a new sun. In our original Saturnian dwarf star system, the electrical influence of Saturn's heliosphere would have permeated everything within it on a cellular level. Because of that different spectrum of radiation, the cells in our bodies didn't break down like they do in the radiation of our new sun, and vegetation thrived as well. On the CIA's website, there is a transcript from a remote viewing experiment they conducted. The remote viewer reported seeing people and pyramids, and the people knew their world was coming to an end, and they were waiting for the return of some who had left to try and find a new home. The remote viewer at the time was unaware that the target was ancient Mars in the Cydonia region. Now, I have no way to know if this is true or not, just like the story of the whistleblower who claim that the government is in possession of ancient alien spacecraft found in archaeological digs. But there are dozens of YouTube channels examining the Mars rover's GigaPan images, and I've spent dozens of hours watching their content. And I have to say, they are extremely convincing. And at this point, it seems undeniable that a civilization once thrived there, also under the influence of Saturn. And whether they came here or not, I can't be sure. But there sure is a lot of talk from the ancients about sky gods coming down from heaven and sharing knowledge. And what do you do with the work of Brian Forrester and others showing us the sutureless, elongated skulls? I'll leave you with another passage from Hesiod. He says, "Great Olympus quaked under the immortal feet of the Lord as he went forth, and the earth groaned beneath him. A conflagration held the violet dark sea in its grip, both from the thunder and lightning, and from the fire of the monster, from the tornado winds and the flaming bolt. All the land was seething, and sky and sea. Long waves raged to and fro about the headlands from the onrush of the immortals, and an uncontrollable quaking arose. Hades was trembling, lord of the dead below. And so were the Titans in Tartarus, with Saturn in their midst, at the incessant clamor and the fearful fighting." Have a good night, guys.